We'll see if it works. I guess it worked. Hello, everyone. Ooh, I got cards because why wouldn't I? Last night, I guess it was the full moon in Leo. I almost said Aquarius. I forgot it was a full moon in Leo until I saw somebody make a post. And then when I looked at the moon was already in Virgo because the sun was at like 28 degrees. Pisces season is tomorrow. So I don't know if it was like Pisces season about to start, if it was the full moon in Leo, if it was Jupiter conjuncting my sun, but Jupiter's been on my sun for a hot second. Maybe it's all of the above, but I had a few interesting dreams last night. And I remember in one of them, I feel like I was in like Holland or something. Um, and I was like touring, like a tourist, and everybody started like running into buildings. And so we were running into, or I went into one just sort of like, because I don't know what's going on or what's happening. And then somebody walked into the building and they were armed, or that was the vibe. Um, but nothing happened. And I remember for some reason being like, okay, like let's go back to business as usual. Like nothing happened. There's nothing that we have to worry about. Oh, nine of coins with temperance. I don't know if I'm feeling these. I got them. I don't really. Ooh, I'll go for the mystical manga. I love the mystical manga art style. Reading it, um, and I was like, for a second, I was kind of confused, and I feel like there were like children, and I was like, "Do y'all need to talk about what just happened?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, well, that's valid. That's fair. Like, let's talk about what just happened." Let's talk about the fear that we felt because we didn't necessarily know what was happening or what was going on, and maybe if there was some like powerlessness or whatever emotion feeling we needed to talk about. I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And then it's interesting because I had another dream, and I woke up like right before my alarm went off today. But I had another dream where there was somebody who had a history of violence, and I was like helping him be less violent, question mark. And I remember there was somebody else, and he said something like he basically he not like turned himself in, but I was like, approach him and friend in a friendly manner, like don't do anything violent. And then the person was like, "Oh, like here I am coming." I was like, because he's gonna make himself like he's gonna come to you like unarmed or something like that, and he's gonna know he's a target and he knows how you are. So like, don't do the thing. And then he was like, "Okay, whatever." And then the person was like, I know like that I'm unarmed and that I am at your mercy. And then the dude just turned around and he did it anyway. But the other guy got him. I don't know. They were weird dreams. At the end of the day, it's like, he made his choices and decisions and they it didn't work out for him, but it was just weird. They were weird dreams. And I had another weird dream. I'm like, I don't know. And then, of course, I'll get up and I go to work. And then today has been such a long day. Like, I'm literally just getting home. I got home maybe half an hour ago. And then I get home as I was coming closer, as we came back into town. Well, not came back into town, we were getting closer to home. we heard the fire truck, and we're in the middle of well, I guess it's over now. It was snowing and winter weather, and the roads weren't great. We were we were coming back, and the highway was shut down, like the main highway. It's a straight shot, was shut down, and the police was out there. They were like, "You're gonna have to take this other road." And my mom was like, "Well, where's this road? I've never taken that road." So we bust out the GPS, and we're taking little country roads, and we can't see. All we see is like snow and like blowing snow, and it was a mess. Um, and I was like, well, it navigated. I was like, we could have went straight. So there was this one point where we could have stayed on this like smaller highway. Is it interstate? I think it's an interstate. No, I don't know. I don't know anything when it comes to anything. But they're like country roads. There was the main highway, and then there's the other one that's like an interstate, right? No, it's a state road. It was a state road because the interstate is the one that was shut down. The interstate was shut down. The state road was where they were directing people. And on the app, on the GPS, for some reason, it had us taking the country roads instead of just staying on the state road. And I didn't catch it until it was time to turn because my mom was like, "We can go straight, can't we?" And I was like, "Well, this is saying to turn right." Turning on those country roads was not it. And we were going to be on the country roads for like 6 miles. And I was like, so I was looking at the map, and she was like, well, I should be able to like turn up here, right? And then I was like, well, it's telling us to go straight, but I can look at it. So I'm looking, and I'm like, if we make a left here and then a right and then another left, we'll be back on that state road. And she was like, I don't know where we are. So basically, that's what we ended up doing. And I was like, according to the map, the left is right here. So we made the left, and luckily there was, road beneath the tires. And my mom was like, I need a pair of eyes. I need a pair of eyes. And by that, she meant like somebody to come and pass us and to drive ahead of us. And so we could follow them. And two cars passed us, but they were driving too fast for her to keep up with. And then there was a car that was behind us, and she tried to let them pass, but they wouldn't pass. And I was thinking, I didn't say anything, but I was like, maybe we're their eyes. But she like stopped so that they can pass. But then they like again they outpaced us. But anyway, so we ended up making it back to the state road. When we made it back to the state road, she actually was able to get a sense of where we were because it was near where we take Chino to the vet. Um, and so she was like, "Oh, I know where we are now. I wonder if the highway is open, the interstate." And it was. I was like, "I don't know. Like, we can try it." They said it was closed. I don't know how long it was closed for, but luckily we were able to get on the interstate and we came back. But anyway, so we saw a fire truck. And then, of course, my mom's like, I wonder where they're going because they're coming closer and closer to like where I live. And so we're driving down the street, and on the block, there was like a fire truck and an ambulance on basically like in front of my neighbor's house. But the neighbor that lives behind me, so on the other side of the block. And she was like, I wonder where they are. I wonder where they are. And then we come up to the street to turn that I live on, and we see another fire truck and another ambulance on the corner, like right across the street. And she was like, I was just like talking about going to see that neighbor. I'm like, what is happening? Well, they're like literally right here. And then we come in front of the house, and it's like a pair come down the street like the way that we're coming from because we're going up the street. They go down the street, and then a fire truck that I'm assuming was on this block comes up, and it turns right, and then the fire truck that was on that corner already ends up making a right. Like the other fire truck went where it came from. And I was thinking, like, of course I had the thought, intrusive thoughts are a thing. Um, the Knight of Pentacles again. Okay, well, oh snap. Maybe I could have kept using that deck because the Nine of Pentacles just came out again. Oh, Ten of Swords at the bottom. Who is this? Ten of Swords, Six of Cups, King of Wands, Knight of Wands. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's happening. But I did have the thought of like, oh my gosh, like what if they're at my house? They weren't at my house, but there was one on the other side of the block and one right across the street. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. And then today is just, it's interesting. It almost feels like some judgment-y type times, but anyway, that's every. What's up with all these pentacles? I feel like I don't want anything. Five of Wands at the bottom of the deck. The Hanged Man. I actually just saw the Hanged Man when I was shuffling the Tarot of Dreams. The Seven of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Tower. With the Five of Wands, this is actually interesting. At the bottom. This feels like an energy of both of these feel the same. So the Seven of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Tower. The Seven of Cultivation. It's a card of putting time, energy, effort into something, nurturing it, caring for it, for the purpose of it, growing, multiplying, ripening, maturing, for there to be a harvest later. The Hanged Man can be a moment of indecision, or it's a moment of like not necessarily, it might be like not necessarily knowing if something is worth continuing to invest in. And then the Tower comes out right after that Hanged Man. And in the Tower, it's interesting that there are two people coming out, and it's almost like a very lovers type configuration. Almost like the Tower in reverse, because they're standing up. Or they're like floating or whatever. But I say that's interesting because in the Five of Wands, it's like there are two wands on one side and three wands on the other side. And the Three of Wands is very much an energy of like continuation. Like you've already started something. Now you're waiting on probably something outside of you to come along so you can continue the thing that you're already like doing. And the Two of Wands is a brand new adventure. So again, it's that energy of like, do I continue or do I start something like anew or afresh, or do I start over? And that's why I feel like this is like this one card at the bottom of the deck is literally these three. The Seven of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Tower. But it's almost like with this Five of Wands, it's like it would be a tower regardless. Whether or not you like, if you continue, there'll be a tower. And it might be an energy of like opportunity costs, right? It's like if you continue doing this, then maybe you won't be able to do the other thing. And if you stop doing this and you do the other thing, maybe you won't know how it's going to play out. I'm going to look and see what's before and after the High Priestess. The Lovers at the bottom of the deck after that little shuffle with the Page of Swords and the Eight of Pentacles. The Lovers is interesting in this deck because they're blind. And because they're blind, it feels like when it comes to this, like intuitive decision making. And again, with that sort of like opportunity cost energy, it's like you're not necessarily going to know either way. It's like when you make one choice, you're not necessarily going to know how the other choice would have played out. And you're only going to find out how the choice that you made played out by seeing how it plays out as you make that choice. And so again, like that's why it's interesting that the lovers are blinded by this red ribbon, and it's kind of red ribbon of fate energy, page of swords. The page of swords is interesting because it feels like there's a bit of magic in this page of swords, but it's not a lot. Like in his hand, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. You see the little sparkles in his hand? Now, like, if you've never seen anything, that's like, oh my gosh, like what? I did it. And if you're like, it feels relative, um, but it's just the beginning of something, too. Where's this high priestess? Do I have? I don't have a title card in this deck. I don't have a live life and find out card. The high priestess is kind of my live life and find out card if I don't have a title card. She can be. The Queen of Cups is with the King of Swords. No, psych. Take that back. The Queen of Swords is with the King of Swords. And the Chariot is under those two. So, in that, there is an energy of. It's almost like an energy of getting on the same page as yourself, but maybe it's more so just like to make a choice or decision and to not be so heavy in the what ifs. What if I would have done this differently? What if I would have done that differently? What if I would have chosen this? That it takes you out of the moment of where you are, that you don't put into whatever choice you make. Hold up, I'm going to try to talk. It's difficult because it's like it feels like whatever choice you make, we make, it's going to require something of us. But if we're too busy thinking about other things, or if we're more focused on the choice that we didn't make, then it's like we're not giving the thing what it needs for it to grow. Again, with the Seven of Pentacles energy coming off of the Hangman, or with the Hangman coming off of that Seven of Pentacles, it's like, well, you're not really nurturing it in a way to make it grow. Hey, Holly, how you doing? Glad to see you too and enjoy. Me too, thank you. My mom was like, "Do you want to go today?" And I was like, "Well, I feel like I'm not gonna die today. So if you want to brave the roads, we can go. Like getting there isn't gonna be that big of an issue. It's gonna be getting back." And we made it back. I was like, I feel like I'm not gonna die today, so we'll be all right. Um, but yeah, I would say that that's Kizzy Cat. Hello. I'm actually gonna be in your neck of the woods here. Well, I don't know exactly where you are. But I talked to my buddy and I'm supposed to be, fingers crossed, making a trip either late May, sometime in June, or around the 4th of July. So between like the end of May, no, it should be before that because over the summer, like June, July, August, the tickets are more expensive. So it might be like May sometime. And he lives in like the northern UK. He's in Darlington. Um, but he said he's like 3 hours from Scotland, and I've wanted to go like visit Scotland and Ireland. And so I was like, I think we're gonna do a weekend in Scotland, and then I'm gonna be in Darlington, and then I'm gonna fly out from London. So I'll spend the last weekend in London. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. Oh, snap! I feel like this is not helpful at all. I know, right? I'm like, I gotta get fit. Or I gotta get climbing ready, hike ready, because I feel like a lot of like things to see in like Scotland are like hikey, and so I was like, I gotta build up my stamina and endurance. And I was gonna go the last week, but he was like, if I take vacation, I want to take vacation. I don't want to take vacation and just like not do anything. So I was like, oof, well, maybe I'll pick a week where you still have to work. So we can enjoy the weekends. Cause Michigan was fun, but it was so much and it was too much for me. By the third day, I was like tired. I was like, all these beaches look the same. It's not worth it. It was like we were staying in a different place every night. I think there was only one place that we stayed in for 2 nights, but it's like we got there in the middle of the day or like closer to the evening, spent the night. We were there the next day, spent the night, and then we left early in the morning. So I was like, if you're doing that again, maybe we're not vacation compatible. But anyway, it'll be a blast. Maybe I'll see a kizzy cat. Maybe not. Maybe I'll see an Amanda. Well, I know Amanda's in Ireland, so yeah. Well, that's what it was. Like we went around the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and then we ended up in um, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. We ended up in Milwaukee the last day before we came back. Um, yeah, because we went to the Harley Davidson. I actually had a friend. She was like, I live right by there because she did an internship in Milwaukee. And I was like, what? I should have reached out. I could have seen you. I ain't seen her in a minute. She's a friend who sent me the text message the other day that was like, hey, what's that thing that you said to me like 2.5 years ago? Anyway, so not anyway, but um the cards, there's no answer here. The cards before and after the high priestess, like how I said, it feels like these are intuitive choices and decisions because the lovers are blind, and then it's like it feels like the lovers that are coming out of the tower. So it could be the space of choices and decisions that maybe with the hanged man. So there is a story here. It's almost like there's a I don't want to say like a character arc, but it feels very like a character arc. There was a stage of development. Some of that was in light, some of that was in shadow, some of it was in between, some of it, who knows. And it feels like there was something that was stuck. Whatever this hangman was, it was stuck. It was a point that we couldn't move beyond, maybe. So there were lots of maybe seemingly, I want to say disparate, seemingly like separate, unconnected of life, or seven different things that we've needed to really heal or focus on, or a series of choices or decisions, or fortunes and misfortunes. It could just be experiences too. Maybe it's partially experiences, it's partially healing. Whatever is occurring in a way that it affects our life, but not in any necessarily extremely tangible way. Because with the Seven of Pentacles, it's like there are seeds that have sprouted, but they're not ready for harvest. They're not full grown. They're not really ripened, like they haven't ripened or matured at all. So it feels like maybe we can kind of sort of see, like, if I keep doing this thing, maybe if it picks up, I'll end up here with this or something like that. And so then, because of that, it feels like the tower is the space where we finally make the choice and decision to get out of this space that we couldn't break out of because of this hangman. And so many things have been building us up, actually being put into us, poured into us, so we would finally, eventually make whatever this choice or decision is. These are the intuitive choices. Again, it's like we don't necessarily know how anything is going to play out either way. We just kind of got to make a choice or decision, live life, and then find out. But again, it felt like there's something that we need to put into the choices and decisions that we're making so that we're actually like we're active in our lives and we're participating in our lives rather than wishing we would have made a different choice. You know what I mean? And so the cards before and after the high priestess, it's the ace of coins and justice. And the reason why I feel like it's a repeat of this energy again is because justice is blind. The ace of coins is a brand new experience, a whole new world in so many different ways. And it's a seed, it's limitless possibility and potential for like lived experiences, like quality of life. And with justice here, it's blind, but also with justice here, it feels or it almost gives it, since this is like a lot of earth, the only minor arcana cards, the only minor arcana cards, the earth, the ace of pentacles and the seven of pentacles. Uh, but it's like since it's earth, earth is the result of something. To grow something, you have to, plant it in good soil. The soil has to be nutrient rich. There has to be water. There has to be sunlight. There has to be an exchange of gases. And so the plant can do all the photosynthesis and everything it needs, or whatever it does when it's below the ground before it germinates. Like, and I feel like that's another reason why justice is sort of blind in this. And she has the sword, but she's not really holding it because it feels more, it almost feels more like the result of something rather than it being like this wheel of fortune, things just shift type of thing. But again, with the tower coming after that hangman, when it comes to the seven of pentacles, that makes sense. With the lovers at the bottom of the deck, especially being like choices and decisions that have the potential to impact our life in significant ways for an extended to yeah, I remember when everybody was on that like 72-hour or 72-day thing with who was it? Kim Kardashian, and I feel like his name was Chris something when she was married for like 72 days or whatever. Anyway, because I was going to say it has the power and ability to affect our life very significantly for a period of time. I'll just say a period of time. And again, it's like she's more holding the scales than she is the sword. And that's not to say that like there aren't things that are going to be swords, but the scales are important. And again, like this is the seven of pentacles. It's all about cultivation. It's all about you put time, energy, effort into something, and then you get that investment back at the turn of the season. And that's what's around the high priestess. It just feels like, you aren't necessarily going to know. I don't know if there's necessarily a way to be like, yes, this is 100% going to work. I don't have any oracle cards out. That's fine. I kind of want an oracle card. I kind of want to pull the Whispers of Lord Ganesha, but I also don't because I don't feel like reaching for it. And it's already been half an hour. This is long enough. But I'll see if there's one more card that comes out before I put this away. But I feel like that's it. And because of this Ace of Pentacles in particular, I guess I will say that this might have something to do with Pisces season going into Aries season when we have that conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. And so it's going to be Jupiter in Pisces, the Sun in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces. And I say that because this is a very, like, all of the, in a lot of decks, the aces, they descend from a cloud, right? But someone who's very like ethereal, dreamy up here in this big old pinnacle, and then the cornucopia down here. But this is what gives it that like more Piscean sort of energy. And that's why I say maybe it's tied to this. But I wonder if that'll almost be, because the thing again, maybe that'll be a little bit of a tell. Um, because it's the Seven of Pentacles into the Hanged Man into the Tower. So it might be, because with the Five of Wands at the bottom, it's like, do I continue or do I do this new thing? And it's like, do the thing that you've been preparing to do. Make the choice that you've been healing to make. Because again, with that Seven of Pentacles energy, a lot of things have been sort of coming our way in order for something to prepare us to move beyond a space that we haven't been able to for a long time, maybe for like ever. And it's like, that's almost like how you know. But a choice like that, I feel like would involve a certain amount of fear or a certain amount of uncertainty. But that's the part that we navigate through a sense of trust, but also, again, always use your discernment, right? This would be another time, I think, where it's important to differentiate your pain from your intuition, to differentiate your anxiety from your intuition, to differentiate everything from intuition and from discernment. Because again, with the Seven of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Tower, it feels like choices and decisions that you would have never been in the position to make. And so as soon as you approach them, it feels like there's going to be this surge of maybe like old feelings, old habits, thought patterns, processes, and things like that, where you're like, oh, wait, I've experienced this before, I've dealt with this before, and I know not to do it because of what happened. But again, it's like, it feels like there's going to be a turn in here somewhere. And also, again, the Wheel of Fortune isn't here. It's Justice in the Ace of Pentacles, which makes me think of that Chariot and Eight of Cups energy that's sort of been coming out. But it's not a surprising message from me on this channel. You know what I mean? Where it's like, as we move, things move. As we branch out, as we break out, as our comfort zone expands because we go outside of it, and as we pave that way, our horizons expand. We're open to more the potentials and possibilities of experiences that we're capable of having. It increases because we're in a space of making choices and decisions that we didn't make before, or that we wouldn't make before. So it's almost like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? It's like, if you never would have gone to Spain for whatever reason, then all that Spain has to offer would have perpetually been off limits when it comes to your experience, or when it comes to the things that you will experience in your life. But if one day you're like, you know what, Spain is no longer off the table, now all of a sudden, everything that Spain has to offer you, it's now possible. And it's possible in a way because you'd actually like choose it or follow up on it. Linda! Hey, Linda, how are you doing? And so again, like, that's why I feel like it would be really important to differentiate pain, trauma, anxiety from discernment and from intuition to do it. Because with the Seven of Pentacles, the Hangman, and the Tower, it feels like there have been a key set of experiences that have prepared you to make this choice and decision, to It feels like that's literally the seed. The Tower and the Ace of Pentacles. This is the point where the seed breaks ground and it pops up. But when the seed sprouts, now all of a sudden it has to engage with sunlight. And well, I guess you can get like, I think plants get nitrogen through their roots in the soil. And maybe there's a certain amount of like carbon dioxide that'll diffuse through the soil so they get some of that. But it's like you get a lot more when you're above ground. And it's going to require, it's like this phase of life, it might require different things to nurture it and to sustain it and to care for it, which is why the Eight of Pentacles was here somewhere. I actually saw it. Oof. Well, Judgment and Temperance are at the bottom of the deck now. I almost like this Judgment card though. Well, maybe not. Well, yeah. I think I like this Judgment card. Because this Judgment card, it does feel like there can be an energy here of like these are portals. And they're coming from whatever world they were in into this world where, it feels a lot more abundant. Maybe it's because of the greens and the flowers down there. This is the new space. Judgment came out recently. And I'm pretty sure it had the same energy as the Chariot and the Eight of Cups. Anyway, fair to the Midland. Ooh, my mom would say that sometimes. I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, I don't know. My mom would say it. And my dad was watching, it might have been who's that dude? Oh, what's his name? I don't remember. It's like an old westernish type show. It's like a western show because it's like kind of cowboy-y, but it's not Cartwright. Cartwright, John Cartwright or something like that. It's the Cartwrights. I think I was watching that show and somebody said fair to the Midland. And I was like, oh snap, that's where it comes from. Anyway. Sorry, I got excited. That's fine. But yeah. It's like this is what everything has been for. And again, it's interesting that justice is here with the Ace of Pentacles flanking your grandma used to say it too. What? Fair to the Midland is universal. um with justice here with the Ace of Pentacles flanking the High Priestess. I was gonna go somewhere with that, but I lost it. Um I don't remember. Oh, I've already said everything I need to say. Excuse me. There's no need to make this longer. Um, but yeah. So thank you, Kizakat and Linda for being here. Holly for stopping in. I guess I can get that final card now, the final message from this deck. I didn't think about that. Oh, it's interesting that Libra. It's interesting that Justice came out because it was about 2020, so like 2 years ago, where that energy came out. It's like it was an energy. It was like it feels like the wheel of fortune is about to turn, but it's gonna turn in a way that can play on insecurities and it can play on self-esteem and self-worth, where it's like if we think an opportunity is too good to be true, or if we're presented an opportunity that is so whatever that it causes us to look at ourselves and to ask ourselves if we're worthy or if we're capable or if we're ready. And it felt like if a certain amount of work wasn't done, then we would let those opportunities pass us by. And it wasn't like if you don't do the work, you don't get the reward. It just felt more like if you don't do the work, you're not going to be in a position where you allow yourself to have this. And so that's what the Seven of Pentacles, the Hangman, and the Tower again, like it's in that energy of when we reach that space where we can allow ourselves to receive the better in life and to experience what it is that we're actually worth. So feels gorgeous. It also does kind of sort of feel active in some ways. Can you shuffle alone? Justice, our Judgment, and the Six of Wands at the cut. He's holding. Oh, well, hold up. It looks like it might just be my eyes, but it looks like he's holding two wands in one hand. Like both of those wands, it looks like they're in his hand. And so maybe it is to set out on something new. But always take it as it resonates when it resonates, if it resonates. And use your own discernment. And that might be, it feels like if there is, it's your big mama's favorite saying. No problem, no problem. It does feel though a lot of stuff within the self that may or may not be resolved. And so I would almost say it's like, because it feels like as it approaches, as it gets nearer, or it happens, we might feel that we like backtrack in some way, or it may trigger us in a way where we're like, whoa, wow, like have I really healed? Have I really done any work? But it feels like, that's the moment, that's the opportunity, that's the signal for when you put all that work into practice and you make that choice or decision. If you want, if you're ready, if that is what your discernment, guidance, intuition is telling you to do. You know what I mean? All things in their time. So, final message from the Mystical Manga Tarot. I would say I like this deck. Like, I like how the message came out in this deck, but again, like I started with the Nine of Pentacles and whatever, and the Tarot of Dreams did give me the same card. So maybe if I wasn't talking about being on them country roads in a snowstorm, my mom was like, this is just open fields. Like we could go off the road and not even know a deer could come out or whatever. And I'm just in there like, I still don't feel like I'm going to die today. So I think we'll be all right. I'm glad I didn't. Well, if I did, then, Anyway. There are things. I am glad that I didn't. Okay, all right. Final card, please. Excuse me, trying to keep this video short, under an hour. I'm going to keep shuffling until one card comes out. Oof, that's more than one. What's up with all the wands? So the Two of Wands came out In the Six of Wands, it looked like he was holding the two wands. The Three of Wands just came out, and the Three of Wands fell out with the Eight of Wands. So that's 11 wands. And it's interesting. This could almost be a full moon in Leo energy because Aquarius is the 11th sign and this is 11 fire. But what's even more interesting is this would be the second decan of Aries. This would be the first decan of Sagittarius. The second decan of Aries is Aries with the Leo flavor. Bottom of the deck is that Nine of Pentacles that I was just saying that I saw in the other deck. The Nine of Pentacles is here again. This is so, there have been so many Pentacles. Pentacles and fire. Springtime. Fire and Pentacles equals spring, right? I can't see. What? Eunice? What? Well, yeah, we got a little bit of that, Linda, but it's like it's basically stopped now. We got it from like 3 to 8 ish Central Time here, but enough of it came down that oof, and it's still like it's been windy. But I hope you of course, stay safe and everything like that. I didn't know that a storm was brewing, but also I haven't, like, it's not surprising that I wouldn't know that because I don't watch anything. The thaw. Um. Anyway, I feel like maybe this Three of Wands and the Eight of Wands coming off of that. Um. Oh my gosh, that's making my head hurt. Ouch. The Three of Wands and the Eight of Wands, after we just saw in the Six of Wands, it looked like it was holding the two. And so I was like, well, maybe the thing to do is that new choice. But here, if you choose to continue, there's also a lot of like momentum and swiftness behind this. And with the Nine of Pentacles being at the bottom of the deck, this tells me that all the power is here. The power is here, the power is in you, and the power is in your ability. I feel like I want to use words like your ability to be grounded or something like that, but I feel like it's not grounded in the way that I hear it a lot of times. But it's like it doesn't matter if your choice is the new one. It doesn't matter if your choice is to continue because the power lies within you. The power doesn't necessarily lie in the path that you take. It's almost like if you could be successful at anything you do, then it doesn't matter what you do because you're going to be successful. You're going to find success. But the success, I was going to say the excess, the success, it's like it comes from inside, and it's very much that internal abundance that manifests itself outside in whatever way. It's like we get there. So that's interesting. It's also interesting that these hands are here, and it reminds me of the hand that was under the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, winter storms, tropical storms. Wait. Oh, okay. I was like, you got an ice sleet storm? I was like, no. Yeah, all kinds of storms, every flavor of storm just happening. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. And I think sometimes we do kind of sort of, it is easy to get caught up on like, well, which choice or decision is the right choice? And here it's like, it doesn't matter. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it's like, it doesn't depend on the choice. It depends on the condition of you. There is, and maybe it's part of that grounded in the Nine of Pentacles that it's like, it's not that it necessarily removes itself from the situation, but it feels like it's able to not compartmentalize. It's able to take all things into account. So even if it is something that it's like if I'm triggered by something, instead of it's like recognizing that I'm triggered, number one, and it's like knowing the ways in which I'm triggered. And it's like thinking of all the things that have happened since that initial trigger, if it's triggered by like a trauma or an event that happened in the past. It's able to look at the opportunity in front of me as it is. It's able to think about like where I want to go or if this direction feels like it's one that I want to move in. It feels like it takes more things into consideration rather than just like something happens and it's an automatic response. But again, that was the thing about the Seven of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Tower, because the Hangman was that roadblock that it's almost like no matter what, that's where we would get off, even if we had set ourselves on a path to go much further than that point. And it does, maybe it's the Cinderella vibe with the bird, but it does feel like maybe it's a point where we can connect to the flow of life, but not the flow of life in a super naturey, like go out and put your feet in the grass and sit under a tree way. But it feels like the flow of life in a high priestess way. It feels like the flow of life of like if you could watch your life as a movie and if you could see your path and trajectory, because again in the beginning of this it was an energy of like character development or a character arc or something like that. That was the Seven of Pentacles into the Hangman. It's almost like we would be able to see something as like the next step in a way. And sometimes going back to that Seven of Pentacles, the things that may be seemingly disparate, it's like sometimes we'll encounter something or we'll experience something and we don't know how it plays into the grand scheme of things. We don't know when something is going to come up later. And it's like, oh, like I've been exposed to this, or oh, like I know what this is, or oh, like I was thinking about this whenever. When the opportunity comes, it feels like that's when the puzzle starts to sort of complete itself. And then from a hindsight perspective, again, with the Seven of Pentacles into the Hangman, into the Tower, us getting ready in ways that that we're not even capable of understanding, getting ready to make choices and decisions that can drastically move our lives and shape our lives and impact our lives in ways where it aligns and shapes and moves and impacts more to how we would want, more to what we would enjoy outside of everything that we know, and spaces that maybe we can't even imagine because we wouldn't think that that is possible. But again, that's kind of sort of that Jupiter, Sun, Neptune, and Pisces energy, where it's like it may actually come to pass in some way. or you may find yourself with an opportunity and you're like, oh my gosh, it actually exists. Like I could actually do this. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Um, but yeah, and it feels like in hindsight, it's really easy to be like, oh, that's what that was teaching me, or oh, this is what that actually meant. Like I did a reading, I read for myself and for the new year. I did a 2022 reading for me. And every time when I read, I'm already like, I already know like the way that I envision this or the way that I'm thinking about this and the way it's actually going to play out could be completely different. But the way that I read it, it does hold significance. But when it unravels more fully, it plays out in a way that I didn't necessarily see, especially when I read for myself. But also, that's how I like to live life. I don't want to know everything because then life would be like kind of boring. You know, I like to be surprised. Anyway, the Six of Cups is a card that I got, and when the Six of Cups originally came out, it felt more like facing old fears that I haven't necessarily felt in a minute, or working through thought patterns and processes and ways of being that I've had since I was a child. Like that's what I thought it would be. But in some ways, it has also been things that like I really desire or things that I really enjoy or things that I've always wanted to do, kind of sort of like whack-a-moling in my reality. Like, hey, remember this? Like it's a thing. Like you could do this. And I'm like, what? I didn't know that. So now I'm like, oh, well, maybe I want to like. I know I've initiated my. I don't want to say I've initiated myself into this. I know that I've chosen a job that could lead to a career in this direction, but that's something that I've wanted to do for a minute, and I've met someone who can speak to the experience of that. And the thing is, like, actually, like, it's exactly what I want. And so now I'm like, well, maybe it's time to two of wands where I was like, where I two of wands before I got to the third one. And both the two and the three, like they're both fairly early. Well, the two, of course, but even the three is fairly early. It's not as well established as the Eight of Pentacles, right? Because we're talking the Seven of Pentacles also came out. Like the Seven of Pentacles isn't as established as the Eight of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles, it's still like maybe the seeds have germinated and they've sprouted and you're tending to them. But again, it's like they're a season or two away from being ready to harvest, or three, because it's the seven and maybe you harvest at the Ten of Pentacles. Um, but I didn't necessarily see it playing out in that way. And I guess now that I think about it, I'm kind of sort of low key surprised because there were kind of like tells that it would happen that way, but kind of sort of like I said last time, I wouldn't have thought that I could find so much in like such a centralized location. And so maybe that's why I didn't even like it didn't even register. And like I don't necessarily read. I like reading for myself, especially live. I almost did that today. I guess I kind of sort of no, not really. Not fully. I didn't do it fully. But those are also things that I understand when I read for myself. And those are also things that I leave open. Like I said, I like to be surprised. And that again, it's like it's the flow of life. And it's not the flow of life in a way of like connecting to nature and feeling the oxygen that you breathe out be absorbed into no, the carbon dioxide that you breathe out being absorbed into the tree that becomes the oxygen that you breathe in, and then the rabbit eats the grass, and then the snake eats the rabbit, and then the bird eats the snake, and then you eat the bird. It's like it carries a similar energy, but it's more localized to you and your story and your journey and your evolution as you go from point to point to point in your life. And if you could look at it, you would see, because it's like, I feel like we don't necessarily always see cocoon moments. It's like we'll see caterpillars and then we'll see butterflies. We'll see babies and then we'll see children and then we'll see teenagers and then we'll see adults and then we'll see older adults. Or we may see a baby and then an older adult. Like we'll see the nymph and then we'll see the dragonfly. We'll see the egg and then we'll see the bird. We won't see necessarily that period in between. And so it feels like this is that the Seven of Pentacles into the Hangman, into the Tower, with the lovers and the blindfolds, with the blindfold on justice as it's bringing us this brand new Ace of Pentacles as they sandwich the High Priestess. And it feels very, I don't want to say like dark corridor, but it feels like we're coming upon those times and moments where we'll be given those opportunities to make choices and decisions. And they might align with things that we've desired for a long time. Maybe we didn't even necessarily think we'd ever get the opportunity to do it. Maybe you forgot. And it's not until we remember. Or maybe it's something that you've never thought about, but it excites you deeply. But I feel like either way, with that Seven of Pentacles, it's going to require work. I think sometimes, not necessarily extremely often, but when we get excited about something, we don't necessarily always, unless you're like a Virgo, maybe, or a Capricorn, maybe, or unless you're not a Pisces slash not Patrick, because hashtag not all Pisces. But it's like, when we're faced with the dream and when we're faced with the feelings of everything that it can kind of sort of give to us, and everything that we experience when we live it, we forget about, or it's not as easy to think about all of the ways that we have to tend to it to make it come true, number one, and to maintain it, number two. We don't necessarily think like, oh, like, if I want this thing, then I'm gonna have to do these other things, and I'm gonna have to be maybe like better at managing resources so that I actually have time, energy, effort, resources to allocate to this thing and to all of the things that are like consequences, are like consequential. It's like the repercussions. They come with the territory. All of these, like, it comes with the territory things. And it's like, sometimes we want the building, but not the territory. And some buildings come with territory. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm getting lost in the metaphor. I don't feel like I'm getting lost in the metaphor, but I've already gone for like 15 more minutes or 20 more minutes, and I was ready 20 minutes ago. But anyway. Thank you again for being here. I wish you all the best. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you are able to, when the time comes, I hope you're able to, I want to say, I hope you're able to see how you've been prepared and preparing for whatever in so many ways. And I hope that you can allow yourself those opportunities. Um, I hope that even if you can't, because I feel like you can still be skeptical, you can still be realistic. Um, but I hope you sort of like you take it anyway. And I feel like because there was a lot of like high priestess, blindfolded, intuitive decision making, stuff like that. But I feel like the divine spirit, the universe, it will, like the Page of Swords that had the little sparkles in his hand, I feel like it'll let us know when we're sort of like on the right track. Um, it will affirm, or again, like it will prepare us in ways that we don't maybe necessarily know in the moment we're being prepared. Um, oof, my brain is just like, come on, thought I had it. I feel like I feel like you can be skeptical and still get where you're going, as long as you don't allow that skepticism to stop you from doing the things that you feel you need to do. The divine will show you, like, yes, continue, keep moving. This is right. Like, you don't have to abandon all skepticism and everything, even though, was it last time or the time before, it was about suspending disbelief. For those who can't suspend disbelief, for those who are more realistic, I feel like the divine isn't necessarily just going to have you out there like, yep, no, we're not going to tell you anything. But also at the same time, at the same time, maybe there are times and moments where like you just got to do it. But again, it's like if you do it, then that understanding comes in later. Maybe that's how we build our intuition in some ways, or how we build out how we communicate with the divine. It feels like learning the language of the high priestess. So that we know, like, this is something I need to follow up on, even if I don't fully see how it's going to play out all the way right now. I know what to look for. I know how I'm communicated with. The divine knows all of us and is capable of working with all of us in a way that is unique to us, to communicate to us what needs to be communicated. And maybe that's how a little bit of self awareness can also help sometimes. It helps me. Does it though? Because I'd be like, I'd be like, I know me. I know the divine knows me. And if they gonna try to get me to do something, they know how to get me to do something. Even if I'm like, and then I do it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that worked out. Anyway. Ooh, so rambly today. I need to go to bed. All right. Thank you all again for being here. If you watched this, if you sat through all of this, I hope you find something of use. If not, you're just not gonna get that time back. I guess. All right. Yeah. Ooh.